fall doesn't work like any other band. It's a very self-contained unit. Do you know what I mean? When you're in the fall, you're not just the guitar player or the bass player. You've got a lot more responsibilities. I think a lot of people have trouble dealing with that, and a lot of people have trouble coping with it. So they just, I mean, I've been in the band 5 years, and there's been a lot of musicians that have been and gone, and I've seen it's normally the same reasons. You know what I mean? They come in the band, they get a taste of success for 5 minutes, and suddenly they think that they're deserving of it, and that isn't the case, and that's why
you only stick it on if you're good enough.
You only stick it on.
Correct.
Yeah, because I read somewhere that you said that dictatorship in music was essential. That if musicians got too good or got too professional, they sort of had to move on. That you didn't want that sort of, heavy professionalism.
What's that Canadian group? What are they called? That 7-piece. What happened to them?
Got to be the Black Emperor or Arcade Fire.
The ones that there's 7 of them and these xylophones. What was that thing?
Radio.
Yeah, like a xylophone. Was it
Brand Van 3000.
No, like Rev something.
Mercury Rev.
Mercury Rev.
What's happened to them?
I have
Still going.
They're a professional musician, aren't
They did a good album about 4 or 5 years ago.
Well, they're thinking about going down to the river.
That's right.
But you had mentioned that though, like at one point, I think it was to Enemy, that you were saying that you didn't want to work with musicians that were too pro. Has anything changed?
That's not a nice thing to say from this one.
I didn't say it.
Yeah, we are the fall and we are the best. Yeah, we are the fall and we are the best. Yeah, we are the fall and we are the best.
All right, welcome back to We Are the Fall. I'm Gavin,
And I'm Steve.
and today we are in 2007, and we got a new fall sound. We have a new lineup and a new album from the fall. And Steve, what is going on? Because I'm picturing and I'm seeing and I'm hearing some American fall heads that are in the band.
We got 2 Americans.
I think
Uh,
3.
3. I was going to say at least 2 Americans.
Yeah.
Plucked right off the street and dragged to England to continue on with the fall after an impromptu join the band for some live shows.
Yeah, the mean streets of California have produced some fall band members, which is cool. So the band was on tour in 2005, 6, and they're touring around America. And basically, we have another pretty much a Brownies incident 7 years later, and the band quits. And basically, the band was already kind of saying we're going to quit either way. They were on tour. Mark was causing a ruckus. I think he came at one of the members in the previous lineup with a corkscrew backstage at one point, and then he was also known for flicking cigarettes at the driver of the tour bus or van as they were driving. But you know what Mark says? I was just keeping him awake. He was falling asleep. So either way, they were in Phoenix, and they basically the show didn't go so hot, and the band left, and they said, "Fuck off, Mark, and we'll see you later, mate." And they headed out. I find it extremely. I don't know. It's just like kind of a thing that only the fall could do. And when I say the fall in this context, I mean just like a Marquis Smith move, which is you're in the middle of Southwest America and you're just in the middle of a tour and your band just completely left you. And what do? Most people just pack up. What does
No.
he do? Make some phone calls.
Yep. Just look around first. Look around you. Is there anybody super easily accessible?
Immediately. Yeah.
Try it out. Anything will work. It doesn't have to be great.
Doesn't in the short term it doesn't, and then I think that's what happened with this band and what how he got this band to kind of get in the groove even though there was a little learning period, but he just goes one state over, which is wild. He makes a couple phone calls, and I would like to know more of the backstory, but here's what we do know. He makes some phone calls around. The word gets around that the Fall is looking for, or Mark is looking for a band to become the Fall on the road and continue the tour. He makes some phone calls. He calls up Emmett Kelly, is somehow gets in contact with him, and Emmett Kelly we know is in currently in Ty Seagal's band, but he's got a band of his own called Cairo Gang, which is awesome, and he's played with Bonnie Prince Billy, and a bunch of others. So he gets the call. He can't do it, but he says, why don't you get into contact with these guys?" Or I think he might have called Rob Barbado and Tim Presley and said, "Hey guys, I can't do this, but you guys should probably think about, you want to join the Fall?"
Yeah.
Basically, that's a good phone call to get.
Sure. Yeah. In the US, they're there. All you got to do is play for a couple shows. You got this, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It'll be fun.
How soon can you be ready? Because you have 48 hours. So I mean, basically Rob, Tim Presley, and Orfeo, they're just, they're playing around and they got like a little bit of a downtime from their band Darker My Love, Rob and Tim, and they're just like, for sure, let's get in the fall, let's get in the fall sound and let's like start getting some fall ideas and start they I think what they did was there's a good story about they downloaded the album and they got the download of the album and they just started practicing like we got to practice these songs once they knew they're going to be in the band and continue the tour, and they start practicing the songs and get it, and they show up and they start playing the the first set. I think Mark said, "I met 3 dudes on the street, and then I was immediately on stage with them." Started playing,
Yeah.
and so they start playing the set, and Mark's calling out song names, and he's like, "Midnight in Aspen," or so, or he's just calling out song names, and they start playing the songs, and they're playing different songs that they've learned, but they were named wrong in the
Yeah.
early era of digital downloads. They were named wrong, and so they're playing the right song that they know, named that, but Mark is
Yeah. They're
in
playing
a landing.
fall songs, but just not
Yeah.
under the right name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so funny. It's even funnier that they just kept going. I mean, and Mark was just like, "Ah, I don't know if he couldn't pick it out or he was just like, "Oh, no, I already made my decision. I'm doing this song and they're playing Midnight in Aspen and I don't really care." I think
So
even a lady was like, "Oh, I'm playing whatever Mark said." Oh man, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So it's interesting because we're getting into the Reformation of the Fall, and we got the album Reformation post TLC. And before even this lineup came to fruition, the previous lineup went into the studio and they recorded a bunch of tracks. And I think they recorded like 10 tracks with Grant Showbiz at the helm as the producer. And they get to Mark, or Mark listens to him, and the band is like, "Dang, we got some, like, really brilliant stuff down, Mark." And, like, even, like, Grant Showbiz is like, "I got a CD of it still, and I think it sounds good still to this day." And Mark says, "I listened to it, and it sounded like 10 Eric Clapton tracks." I'm paraphrasing, but he's just like, that's not what we're gonna do." So, you could already kind of feel that there was a creative tension in the band before they were on this tour, and it went the way it went, and now we got this lineup, and now we got this band, and now we got this album, And Steve, I gotta say, I'm a little biased because this is the first album I believe I listened to like in current time to when it came out, you know? Of
Okay.
course, I listened to I've told the story of like listening to the Live at the Witch Trials first experience, but this is the first one I think I listened to real time. And obviously, it didn't make me the full fall head I am today, but it was a very cool experience to have this be the first one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I did not listen to it in real time, and I even kind of saved it. I touched it a little bit here and there, but I was kind of saving it until we got to it, like I have for most of the albums. And I had high hopes. Tim Presley's probably one of my favorite musicians, guitarists, current day with his other band. So I was kind of like, okay, here we go. Like he's going to join the band. And I don't think it was until Tuesday of this week, after really just playing it on repeat for about 2 weeks total, till it kind of finally clicked for me, and I got it for the most part, and found the jam parts. I still think there's some fillers in there that are unnecessary, and the lyrics could be improved a little bit.
I think I was maybe like you might have got oversold of it to it by me like
But yeah, I
before.
think I think so, a little bit there. I think I had put it up on its
You thought it was
pedestal.
gonna be yeah, you thought it was gonna be like all time
And
classic. I think.
And yeah, and just like everybody is, you're reading a lot about it. You're reading different books and the different things online, and everyone's like, the beginning and the end of the fall was like the really good times. Or at least
Yeah,
they come into their own at the last few years. And I was kind of hoping that this was the beginning of something of a new, the new fall sound that really caught on. And
yeah, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. But the thing is, the reason people say that I think is, and that is kind of a general consensus around the fall communities in general, is that the beginning and the end are just like so solid. But you got to it's only because those lineups were so solid for so long. Like, even at the beginning, when they're switching out members, they're still going years and years of that lineup basically with the foundation there. And then at the end, it was super solid for years and years, and they were so solid that they were able to produce things because they had a working relationship. And I think that this one kinda gets unjustly, I don't know, criticized even in the books, in the fall books, that when it's written about, you gotta take it for what it is, and this is a brand new band that basically goes right in there and just makes this album, and it is something that does for me, it sounds different from the fall, like, from anything else. It also has an interesting track listing, which is just it's it's kind of perverse in nature in the way that they lead it off with a handful of tracks and then it goes somewhere else. And it's not an American sound, but it has this different energy to it because he's got these young dudes, as he calls them, in the band. It's bringing this energy to it, and although that they would go on to be like one of the, I mean, I put them up there as one of the greatest live lineups of the fall. It is what it is, and they finally found a groove. It's just like they didn't really fully capture it on this album, but they really got a tone and flavor that is different, and, I mean, come on, Steve, they got 2 bass players. Like, when do you listen to a band with 2 bass players
well,
on an
yeah.
album?
When are you listening to the fall with those big fat bass lines that are in that thing? That thing was
Yes.
super flubby. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm like, oh
Uh-huh.
man, that is not a Steve Hanley bass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
big flubby basses.
Yeah. It's got the repetition all throughout it that we're gonna get into. But who do we got on this album, Steve? We kind of, hit through some of the members, but
Yeah,
let's just get through it officially.
yeah. Obviously Marky Smith, Rob Barbado on bass,
Mhm.
Elaney Polu on keyboards, Othello McCord on drums and vocals, Tim Presley on guitar, Dave Spur on bass. Yeah, some special guests, Pete Greenway on guitar and Gary Bennett on guitar.
Yeah, and so we got some, like, kind of a glimpse into the future too of, kind of where the lineup continues on after the American members are they had their own bands, like
Yeah, you can kind
yeah,
of sense that, right? This was a fun adventure, a side quest for these guys where they're like,
yeah,
we're gonna do it, and they move to England and they do it, and it wasn't a half-assed like proposal where they're like, they took Mark up on his offer and they packed their bags and set out to England and we're there. So
yeah.
uh,
I mean, yeah. There's a funny story too of like Mark saying he was going to the pub and drinking pints with Orfeo, and I hope I'm saying his name right, but my apologies if not. And so they're drinking pints in the pub, and there all these like kind of like really pubby guys, and they said every time Orfeo opened his mouth, these guys were just just staring at him like, what is this? Where is this guy from? Why is this guy here? Like this American guy with Mark and this
yeah,
young American guy. Why like what is this? Like what is this guy coming from, this California guy?
it's not like these guys were 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds plucked off ready for a worldwide adventure, but
Yeah.
some seasoned musicians.
Yeah. I think maybe in Mark's mind, he thought that maybe the band could work out in some form because he liked these dudes and he liked hanging out with these dudes. And even when I think these members were approached to be like interviewed as ex-Fall members in The Fallen, the book by Simpson. I think Mark like called him and said, I think they called it and said, Mark, this guy's trying to interview us. Like, is it cool or should we talk to him? And then he was like, no, he's like, don't talk to him. He's like, you guys are not ex-Fall members. You are Fall members. Like even after they were done. And I was like, oh, that's sweet. That's like it kind of just shows that maybe like the most like they left on the most amicable terms
Yeah,
than anyone else.
it certainly seemed like coming into this next like 10 years, Mark had a change of heart, a change of whatever it was. Like I don't, Steve Hanley is gone, so there's nobody really to challenge him as like taking the fall away from him. So he kind of allowed people to feel like they were in the fall versus it was his band, and he kind of embraced them a little bit more. I don't know if he just got tired of ruling with an iron fist as a dictator, and he wanted a little softer side to show. But
Yeah.
he can sit. He calls them his lads. He calls them more of like a fatherly figure than an asshole.
Totally. I mean, but could you see he liked playing with them, but you can't really picture Mark like moving to the United States either, right? And like even if he was totally invested, I can't really see him living in California. Like he always talks about how much he hated Los Angeles.
Yeah, I imagine
vibe.
he would just probably spend a lot of time in jail too, right? Like I don't think he could get away with. I think in Manchester he was, the adorable the adorable fucked up guy. He's getting kicked out, he's getting banned, but that doesn't last too long. And as long as he's not a complete asshole that night, you might let him sit for a couple.
Yeah, it's just like too big. Like he's not known for what he is in the UK, and it's like he already has a track record of going to jail in the United States. That's not going to be conducive to be performing there. Let's get into it, Steve. Should we? This was recorded at Gracieland Studios in 2006, and it came out on February 12th, 2007 on Slogan Records, label of Sanctuary Records. Let's get into the first track.
Over and over.
I think it's over now, I think it's ending. I think it's over now, I think it's beginning. A 7-year cycle seems to happen every day. I walk up the hill and then descending everywhere. I think it's over now, I think it's ending. I think it's over now, I think it's beginning. A 7-year cycle seems to happen every day. It is now ending, now it is beginning. I think it's over now, I think it's the beginning. One day 3 fellows, they all club together to get their hair back and replace the shiny heads of town skin. They did sail the shiny sea. I think it's over now, I think it's ending. I think it's over now, I think it's beginning. To find the head planet was shut by the EC, with refurbishing incorporated TLC. I think it's over now, I think it's beginning. I think it's over now, I think it's ending. 7-year cycle happens every day. Walk up a hill, descending everywhere. I don't love you and I never did. I don't love you and I never did. I don't love you and I never did. They are not over yet or even started, and they all club get fought together. I think it's ending now, I think it's starting. I think it's over now. Over. A 7-year cycle.
So, in a 1995 interview with Marky Smith, the interviewer says, but maybe only one way of saying it, all fall records sound the same, don't they? And Mark says, no, I don't agree because I rip up everything after each LP. I always have done. Mind you, I also believe in the 7-year cycle. You do come around to the same sort of thing eventually. I work in a completely different way now to in the early days. Now, I just arrange things, write the lyrics, and do a bit of music. Whereas I used to have to put the band through everything. I can trust the band more now. I give them more of a head. This 7-year cycle theory or kind of framing that Mark's talking about is interesting because 7 years prior to this, he gets in a dust up with his band in Brownies in New York City and basically, loses the band and now it's 7 years later and basically the same thing happened and he's getting back into it with a new band. And it's just an interesting dynamic, this kind of like a major turnover, right? There's always the turnover in the fall, but now it's like a major reformation.
Yeah. And I mean this song is just kind of like it rocks pretty good. It's a good
Yeah.
starting track. It's kind of like a prelude to what's gonna come though. He's just kind of singing about what's happening to him in that current day for the most
Yeah.
part, almost on every track. Like it's
Yeah.
not it's just kind of all the tan skinned, they did sail across the shiny sea. Like, yeah, those are those guys. Yeah. I do like one day, three fellows, they all clubbed together to get their hair back and replace their shiny heads. So I mean, he's like, okay, let's get these young bucks in here.
Yeah, they're kind of a little takedown of like a previous band members, the League of Bald-Headed Men that were in the band, and a little bit of a shot at them.
Absolutely, but which is funny because early on, he would never have wanted any long-haired freaks on his stage.
Yeah. And now he's got kind of not long hair, but shaggy hair.
Shaggy hair. I think
beard.
some beards and some gauges and some earrings. And,
earrings. Oh, yeah, man, it's all falling apart with the aesthetic.
Times change, you know.
Yeah, he's getting with the times. Yeah, it's also around the time where he's probably writing his. I don't want to call it a memoir, but it's basically autobiography, Renegade. And if you've read Renegade by Marky Smith, which you should, the whole first like part of the book is him just completely annihilating the previous band that left him in the US, and at the same time talking so highly of these new dudes that are in the band. And it's just like everything, like he's just like a very transparent guy when it comes down to it, when it comes to writing about the current situation, the current environment, but then also it makes its way directly into the songs, which we know at this point. He's always if he's got a grudge, man, you do not want to be on the other side of that, because it's going to last for a while, if not forever.
Yeah, whether it's based in reality or in whatever is going on in his head.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is basically a cover song as well of Coming Down by the United States of America for a 1968 song.
Yeah, which is interesting because I listened to that song and I think they could have actually got away with like no one even recognizing that, but if he didn't just take the lyric refrain.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It would have been hard to parcel it together, because I think that it's definitely like faster. It's kind of more into a little bit more into a punkish groove than the original song. But yeah, it's a good one to start with. I think that the repetition's obviously there. It just is kind of a little bit long, and for that.
Yeah, and there's I feel like there's a lot of they got back into the long track phase here for sure.
They sure did. They sure as hell did.
Yeah.
Well, let's get into the second track. Let's get into Reformation.
Black River from Motel. Trials. Goldfish bowl. Lamb chop. TF. Georgia. Post. A Reformation. Post TLC.
So when I hear this one, Steve, I kind of take this as like the fall on tour song where he's kind of passing by all of these things that are he may or may not be taking a swipe at as well. But
Yeah.
also he's just cruising around, and I like the 6-7 hours that he's referring to, which is like in American bands on tour kind of mode. That is like the 6-7 hour drive that you have to do, which is like, the hardship of like being on tour and getting to the next spot. But there's some fun stuff in there, even though the lyrics are so minimal, and it's
I mean,
just that ripping bass line.
I'm glad I finally read the lyrics
Yeah.
because I thought he was singing black women the entire time, and I didn't really understand where that was coming from the whole
See,
time.
that's funny that you say that, because when they said he's saying cheese state, I thought he was saying two states. Like 2 states of mind, or 2,
Sure. Yeah,
being
yeah.
on tour. Like I was thinking, I like that we were both misinterpreting it, but or maybe just interpreting it a different interesting way, as a listener, because that is equally, as we found, super fun. What about the Goldfish Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, the cheese states of Black River Falls, Wisconsin has a Falls Motel, so I'm sure he drove past that
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
and
Have you ever
saw it.
been to the cheese, castle? What's it called in Wisconsin?
I think it's
It's
called the Cheese Castle.
Yeah, the cheese castle.
Yeah, that's right outside Chicago, and
Yeah.
in
I've been past it a lot. I have not gone in there.
I've been to the sausage house, whatever it's called next door. I don't think I've been into the Cheese Castle.
Yeah. I remember driving past it with one of my previous girlfriends, and she's like, "We should go there." I was like, "Let's not. Let's not. This is enough Wisconsin already." I don't need
Yeah, I mean, Black River Fall Motel, Tiles, Goldfish. I mean, it's literally. I feel like he was just like writing a list of things that he saw that day, and then he's like, "Okay, I guess I got a song."
Yeah, yeah. That's good. Throw it down. It's a perfect kind of there's nothing more than like 2 or 3 words in like a line of these lyrics, and it's kind of really good with that ripping along bass line that Rob or Dave is doing, or both of them. It would be cool if both of them were like just like double tracking that, so it's extra thick, because it's so thick. It's so good. Like you said, flubby, but like has an edge of the distortion to it. You're really taking the lead in a Steve Hanley type of way, where you're just like, this is kind of the forefront of the track of the sound.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, and this one, the first 3 tracks kind of rip, and then you kind of get some silliness and start having a good time.
Yeah. Well, what about Steve? It's not in the title of this track, but it is the title of the album. Typically, it's the tender loving care. And I actually, when I first heard this album and was listening to it, I was like, "Whoa, there's something here about what does it mean to be post TLC, or the tender loving care?" That means it's like into an aggressive phase. maybe again, or maybe like a very like unnurturing phase. That is the Reformation that's at play, and I like that too. But then at the same time, Mark says er, that the TLC could stand for treacherous lying cunts.
Yeah, traitors, liars,
Or
cunts,
yeah,
yeah.
traitors, liars, and cunts. Which he says is like he said he heard someone say that, and he said he just thought it was funny, and I could definitely pick up on that too. Like he's gonna throw that around if he hears a good line that's connected to that at
Oh
all.
yeah, absolutely. And he was always aware of his own follies and own mess ups in every band disaster. But yet publicly or out loud, he never quite got there, and always liked to blame those around him.
Yeah, it's much easier. And then also, as a rock and roll frontman, you cannot be blamed. The minute that you own up to it is the minute that you lose the rock and roll edge. And so, in some ways, it's not the healthiest way to have relationships at all. But you got to understand it as like a persona. You can't be saying that was my fault that Steve Hanley quit. Like that
Yeah.
everyone loves. And then you can't be saying that because you're just like, no, I'm moving forward. And also that is kind of the artistic mindset that Mark's always had, which is like things are gonna happen and I'm not looking backwards. I'm just moving forward.
Yeah, I even
Transform.
like kind of thinking about it from like especially Steve's perspective of like leaving the band, and like, he finally had enough and left, and like, but before that he wrote about like how he's like, I'm not giving this up for that asshole. Like, like
Yeah.
at a certain point this is as much mine as it is his. Like, he might be the genius behind a lot of it, but I'm the one who has carried us as far as we've gotten, on the back of dysfunction. Like his dysfunction has been on my back, and
Yes.
he can't just push me out and push me away, and basically, kind of into obsolescence, right? Because like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, okay, if you give up, like, there might not be a next for Steve Hanley in the music scene, right?
Yeah.
At least nothing like the fall is going to be. So he kind of took more abuse and carried through, even though Mark was the one causing the problems most of the time.
Yeah. And that's totally right. And isn't it interesting too, where it's like Steve Hanley leaves the band and then he tries to he starts another band called Arc, with former Fall members, and as much as he wanted that to be successful, of course, um, once you start another thing, it's kind of like you get disconnected from that previous thing. Like you severed it like completely because you have moved on. When if you don't do anything at all, it's just like, oh yeah, you were in the fall and then you were not in the fall and then the fall changed because you left. But then you tried to do something and it's kind of like you sever that thing and it kind of disconnects you from what it was. In the immediacy of it. And I just think that's an interesting dynamic at play. And especially like in a song like this, where Mark is, it seems like cruising down the highway and looking out the window and seeing, he says blimp at one point, and someone had made a connection that was Spencer Burt Whistle's band After the Fall. Like, so
Sure.
it's like Mark is passing them by, right? Like he's like, it's on the side of the road, it's flying up in the sky, and Mark's headed to the next gig with the fall.
Which it just kind of shows you how much it's not like water off his back, right? Like, he
Yeah.
continues to check in, he continues to think about it, he continues to have these
Mhm.
ghosts chasing him, and he uses it, as kindling for his songs, but
Yeah.
like, it's there, it's somewhere in his psyche, and he's got all of those 30 plus members, kindling away underneath him still. Like he's carrying their ghost
Yes.
around. He can't exactly cut ties, even though he has.
Yeah, it's so ironic, and even like even the title of this album, the post TLC Reformation era is the band becomes it seems like the band dynamic became more TLC, right? Because the band members were like they're very copacetic and they're very like getting on together, and it was like it seemed like a very caring and like environment where everyone is like, yeah, we all get along, we're all having fun, we're learning what we're going to become. It's kind of an exciting time. The
Yeah,
energy's there.
which is you're just like, why did that switch flip? How did it happen where Mark decided to go on a completely different track than he had done for the last 25 years? Like, okay, I'm going to be buddies now. Like, we'll be buddies and we'll see how that goes. Versus, using freaking messed up psychology to mess with everybody and try to push them in weird ways to, fucking with their shit and see what else they can produce. And like, oh, we got to get the best out of everybody. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, maybe if we'll just try being nice for this go around.
Yeah, how much of it do you think was like an age, difference playing into the dynamic of being more of like a figurehead to the band, and like the guys coming into the band. He says Mark always says, I don't want fall fans in my band as musicians, which is a load of shit, honestly, because almost every single band member heard the fall. Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. I don't even feel like either of these three guys were like fall. They're not big fall fans.
No, they weren't.
Like,
they weren't
they're not
extreme.
like they knew they knew who they were, obviously, but they weren't like worshiping him like the other guys had.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's what helped him. He liked that not being a I don't know. Or
I think too, it was like he's got a bunch of young dudes that are record heads, right? They're like complete, like Darker My Love is like a band. I went, like, I found out about like Tim Presley. I mean, I heard him on here. I didn't know he was on here when I first listened to this album, but then I was like, I found out about White Fence and I was like, this is totally like hitting all the my sweet spots, like 4-track recordings and like blown out and like all this experimentation of like layering stuff. It's like totally, and then I went backwards. I was like, oh, Darker My Love. Like, what was that? What was that group about? And I was like, listen to, and they're all like record heads and they were like referencing obscure psychedelic records that were like private press records and stuff like that, which is really cool. And so I think Mark kind of got invigorated by that a lot too.
I think it could have also been a heavy dose of fear for Mark, where he kind of realizes he might not have very many opportunities to just scramble a band together anymore.
Yeah,
Like,
true.
he's burned a lot of bridges. A lot of people know what his shtick is, and like he's still a relatively young man here.
Yeah.
He wants to ride this wave to the end. He can't piss it all away every time.
I'm sure he liked like the unknown musician that he could get into his band, but at the same time, I don't think he was yeah, I don't think he was aware of Darker My Love, California band. Psychedelic fan.
I think he called and he said, anybody who can play an instrument will do.
Yeah, yeah. Who will learn these songs in 48 hours? These guys.
And then they passed the personality test and they got along, and he's like, all right, come on, let's come back home.
Double bonus.
Come back home with me and we'll keep this ball rolling as long as it'll go.
So let's get into what this band sounds like now. Let's get into the fall sound. Only water passes my lips, only beer passes my throat. Hit it. No guitars, dead mob. Fall sound. No
Before it
80s retro
breaks.
baits. The fall sound. No laptop wankers overground with the fall sound. It's a business line, not a chat line. Wondering what's up? It's the fall sound. I have woken up. No, it's the fall sound. It's much too late. It's a scream for help that's desperate. Man, that is good. That is good. It's like a little reference to like the non-guitar music, and then it's like, oh nope, we're still doing it the old-fashioned way, right? We don't got, we still got the synth in there. We get the bass synth, but this is guitar music, especially bass guitar. These first 3 tracks are just fucking heavy with it.
Yeah, and then they go to shit on the synth, not the synth, but on all the noises a little bit more, and then they just go and like have a bunch of songs with it in them at the end.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just like,
yeah.
what well, how did that make it? Um,
What do you think?
but
Yeah, what do you think about the Reformation song and then the fall song, the fall sound song right after it? They're very much like of like sister tracks, and they're just like lumped together like that. It's only something the fall would decide to do. Oh no, no, you heard something like that? Now here's another one.
w- which I think is what gave me my misgivings the whole time because I was ready. Like, I mean, over and over is a good warm up, and then these two just kind of go, man,
Yeah.
and you're ready, and then and you know the next
Mhm.
two, White Line Fever, which is just a fantastic cover of the song, and then the Insult song, which is probably my favorite fall kinda silly song where,
Yeah, I know what you're
like,
saying. I
you
know
think
what you're
it
saying.
should be track 14, you go out on it.
Yeah,
It's my
usually the
favorite,
fall goes out on something like that, yeah.
and it's
It
good. The other ones
yeah.
I'm always kinda like, "Eh, not so much," but I think Insult Song is a good song, which I guess would moved it up into the top 5 for
Yeah,
some
yeah.
reason, but,
Yeah, the lines are so hilarious. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but that yeah, you're right. Like the first half of this album, it's kind of like it's slowly leading to you towards like a more free forming of the fall sound. And it kind of almost speaks to maybe like the idea of the band. It's like we got this we're in the fall now. Let's make it sound like the fall, and then eventually like all of everyone's true colors start coming out, and then you start hearing it. Like even you start hearing more of the Tim Presley style guitar playing in the middle and the later tracks where you're like, I was like, thank you. Like I haven't heard that on a fall song, like that
yeah.
type of guitar playing. And so it's like it's kind of like the Reformation is in progress as you're moving through the track list, which is kind of a really fun way to listen to it. Yeah. And what and Steve, also, I just like the waking up, and I guess that's like a reference to John Cooper Clarke and Marky Smith talking about how, the Manchester music scene went from primarily like guitar bands into electronic bands, and then Mark's like, yeah, like people, it's almost like a wokeism in the form of musicality, where it's like, no, I've awoken, and I this is the future of music. This is the future of music. Like this is where we're going, and I'm on board with it. You're behind the times, and he's like, no, I've always been with just the time,
Yeah.
the
It's
time
been
travel.
it's always been my time, and I'm always there. Plus the little, Mark alarm clock would
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's get into. Should we listen to some Merle Haggard?
I think we should.
Okay. White Line Fever.
Yeah, I thought you meant hold out to the second one.
I thought
That's
I
like
forgot it
forever.
came in the first chorus.
Yeah.
Sickness born into my soul. Wild fever. Price keeps going down like the telephones. The wrinkles in my forehead show the miles above behind me and continue to remind me the fact I'm growing old. I still got that fever in my soul. I wonder why.
It's a good pace. Faster than the original, but not as fast as they typically amp up their songs.
I'm always surprised by the way that this one is kind of cast aside by the fall community because obviously Mark is not like delivering it with authority, but I take that as he's delivering it perfectly because it is kind of a melancholic song. It is. He even says in the song it's a old highway song, and this is an old highway song, and it's a man looking, seeing things pass by. It's kind of the same themes he's definitely into at this current moment, and it's totally fitting what's been happening at the beginning of this record. So I think it fits perfectly. I don't understand. And come on, when are you hearing a gang vocal that's trying to do harmonies in the fall?
Yeah.
When
Yeah,
has that happened?
and I can't imagine. I mean, obviously Mark's listened to Merle Haggard, but I can imagine these American boys are like, let's put on some Merle, like, and he's just like, hell yeah, like let's do this, and you're just, you're feeling it, and you got the double innuendos with white line cocaine, white line highway lines, telephone poles. I mean, it is this is everything Mark dreams about in the song.
Yeah. I also like the line, for throwing things out of the car, it's a 50-pound, $100 fine. Like get it all in there. Oh man. Yeah. I know I was recently just watching on YouTube Merle Haggard sound check and from like the mid 90s, and it's really good because he's playing in this small little town called Green, Texas. And he's walking into the venue and the camera's following him, and he's just talking to people that are out there like tailgating and drinking beers, and like he's stopping and chatting with them and like saying what's up and taking pictures with them. And he goes in there and they're doing the sound check, and this camera guy who's just got like a VHS camcorder is recording them doing their sound check. And he's got two fiddle players, and both of these guys are like chain smoking cigarettes as they're playing the fiddle. And it's like the most honky tonk style like dynamic. And I was just watching it, and this just reminds me, because I was like, if Mark obviously loves a good country twang, and we love when he and the band get into the country twang, but I could see him and Merle Haggard hanging out and having a great time together, like-minded. There, even till his dying day, Merle Haggard was on the road, and Mark, till his dying day, was on the road doing the exact same thing. They're like lifers, and they're like, the music is their soul, and I think that's just lovely.
Exactly. Yeah, they had one purpose, and this is it.
Yeah, it's really, really, really sweet. So let's get into that song you were referring to, Steve. Let's get into a little reprieve, maybe, from all this music and get into Insult.
White line fever. I got it. Of the children of Captain Beeford. They've been locked in the forest for many years. They could not help it. They were retards from the Los Angeles district. There was Tim. There was Tim too. There was Rob. There was Dave the Eagle. And the mad Greek woman, the Hydra. It was white line fever. All over again. Over and over again. They They had us trapped in the hills, playing their Los Angeles music over and over. It sounded like Amon Dole at first, but in fact, it was a plot by three of them.
So it's real easy to lump this song into similar fall songs like Crew Filth, where the band and even the road crew are involved in the song. But this one is, like you were saying earlier, this is kind of a fun kind of jazz song
Yeah.
that the fall could do in a jazz way.
Yeah, and Mark exactly. Mark is just kind of scatting about everybody, just having a fun time. Like again, kind of just freaking talking about what they're doing.
He's doing his best Captain Beefheart impression, and the musically it kind of reminds me of like a Swell Maps type of experimentation with the guitar, which I really love. I mean, that's a Tim Presley, like only he would be doing something like that. And but then it's got a funky rhythm, so it kind of throws it too, where it's like more in a Captain Beefheart kind of jazz blues vein. Um, but there's so many funny lines in here, and you can even hear Mark laughing, which is beautiful too. But he says, he references their band. They were Coffee Darkly, my love. They were wearing masks until they were asked to take them off, and they took off the trout mask. They took the trout replica a bit too far. Yeah, that's really good. You know, he's like kind of like he's insulting the band, but at the same time, that in this case, he's not really insulting them. He's trying to just like get them to fucking laugh while they're
Yeah,
playing.
yeah, it's get them to laugh. It just that kind of gentle hazing to get everybody into a drive, right? Like get them all together. Like, yeah, we all we're all gonna take it out on each other a little bit here. Let's go.
They traveled like born again Christians, or the Jehovah Witnesses. So they traveled and traveled till they reached the holy town of Rodale. Oh, and Nabend. Oh man, I mean, yeah, he's even talking about their names, and then he's throwing their names in there. He's like, no one knew. Was it Latin? Was it Yamaha? It's hilarious. It's really good. Uh, and even their tour guide Dave gets thrown in there too. Yeah. That's really good. Oh, man. That's fun. Yeah, usually that's at the end. I'm glad it's in the middle. Like, usually I don't like going out on songs like that, and I'm glad this one's in the middle. Steve, let's get these last 2 tracks in here and before we look at the album art, because we have a lot to look at as far as album art variants. Let's get into My Door Is Never. Marky Smith contradiction in lyrical form.
The repetition is great, and like the 2 stanzas of actual line are freaking killer. Like,
Yeah, I know they are.
the night to self with the shoulder touch, aroma for the duvet you slept in. No, not never, no day will I prove my nerve to you, or impress your dipshit head like others do. I crave your death inside my mind's eye.
Yes.
And then move it on and, get through some doors. And you got everything that I was supposed to have learned, but my specter is coming after you. I crave your death within my mind's eye. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was like, you're just like hiding those in there. You barely
I
pick them
know.
out because your mind just shuts off. And then like, here they are.
That's what it is. That's what it is. And that's like, they're just hidden in there. They're just hidden behind the doors. You got to go through the door. Well, you got to try to get in there. And then if you do, it's totally worth it. But if you totally let that door get in your way, you're never going to get in there. And that's kind of the story of this album. And honestly, a lot of the fall albums that you need to just, keep knocking, keep on, keep on getting in front of that doorway, jiggle the handle, put your
I
foot in the doorway.
Yeah, and this is definitely a go at it, play it as loud as you
Yes.
can tolerate, and it's better. And, I think you text me, you're like, "How's it going?" And I was kinda down on it, and it it got there for me.
Mhm. Mhm. This is the one where the Tim Presley guitar starts to bloom too, because you get the kind of a little bit of like a feedback um guitar, and he's like I love him as a guitar player because he doesn't play guitar solos. He kind of does more of like emotional um kind of like, strangling the guitar neck, and these
Yeah, it
notes
was
are just getting, pushed out. They're like getting squeezed out.
yeah,
Yeah.
he's bending the notes into you
Yeah.
versus sitting there and like, yeah.
Yeah, and all the times that I've seen White Fence and, like, in his other incarnations or even playing with Ty Segall, he doesn't play the same guitar riffs every time, right? They got the same style, he's kinda going for the same feel, but he doesn't play the same thing every time, and I like that too. I like that every experience, he's, like, totally invested in it and involved in it, which is good, and which is actually the type of guitar player you want in the fall because of all the repetition, you want something that is a little bit. That's why Craig Scanlon was so good, right?
Yeah.
Even like Martin Brama and even Mark Riley were kind of in the same vein where they're just gonna sometimes change it up a little bit, like where there is just a basic loose structure to what they're doing, but then they're not gonna do the same thing every time.
No, yeah, you got bass and drums driving the repetition, and then Mark and the guitar are just like these living things that kind of
Mhm.
morph and move and shake, and you don't know what you're gonna get, which is, why the live shows are always just there.
Yeah, it is yeah, it's really good. I mean, let's get let's get into the last track on this side because I got more to say about this. Um, let's get into Coach and Horses. Which one of the tracks that I think is really a standout?
Finally going back in time, just like you like.
I look through the 1860s window down. I see coaches and horses moving around in the slashing round. No fall. Coaches and horses moving around. Coaches and horses moving around. I go down and swear in every hill. I need thy answer, no service for you. I swear. The coaches and horses move around. I followed it into the late for delivery. Coaches and horses had their plumes on ground. They say you can't come out your coats and shoes. I swear to you, everything I am.
So this is one where you finally start to hear the darker my love sound coming into the fall. And I don't know, I might be mistaken, but I have never I don't recall hearing a fall guitar sound that has been so heavily modulated with like reverb and with like delay and like a little bit maybe even of a chorus effect.
Yeah,
I'm glad it's existing.
going up and down, and yeah, everyone's kind of jamming together. Yeah.
It's hypnotic, isn't it?
Oh yeah. It's like the only track on this album that I think is at all not present day.
Yeah, it does seem, yeah, because he says 1860s window pane. He's looking through it and he's seeing the coach and horses go slashing around in the slashing rain. And I need to enter no service for you. And he's going to the inn, follow it into the lake for delivery. They say you can't come in, your coat infused. I swear to you, everything I enter refused. They say no chemicals have been invented yet in the 1860s again. Huh. Yeah, a little Mark time travel, which is so fun as usual, but it's short and sweet.
It's short and sweet, which is so weird for the rest of the next one's short, but the rest of them are long, and yeah, it's almost disappointing. You're like, where else was he gonna go?
Again, it is a traveling fantasy. I mean, it's a traveling song. It's another traveling song on the road. So it's all on there. This is like the tour album. His like 1860s tour to go into the inn. Now he's not going to Wisconsin to the motel. He's going to the inn in the 1860s and by horse and carriage getting drawn in, and he's trying to find those chemicals. And being on tour back then, it's a little bit harder to secure those little substances that you might need to get you through a couple string of shows. All right, well, that's the end of side A. If you're liking what you're hearing,
Yeah,
let's get into fucking side B, mate. It's gonna be a good, wild, weird experience. Reformation Post, TLC. Oh man. I always say Reformation Post, but it's what is it? It is.
Reformation post TLC.
It's just the cover. The cover is getting me all screwed up, which we're about to get into. So if you're liking what you're hearing, let's flip over to side B, and we'll see you over there. We are the fall.
We are the best.